Greetings. I am Legacy Moon, and this is True Crime and Mysteries. Welcome back, all of my current subscribers. Welcome to all my returning visitors, and welcome to my first-time guests. Trigger warning. This video deals with SA, S violence, CP, and child S abuse. If you are sensitive to this subject matter, this may not be the video for you. If you or someone you love has been a victim of any type of abuse, please call one of the following numbers. The SA hotline is 1-800-656-4673. Human trafficking hotline 1-888-373-7888. And the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children 1-800-843-5678. I'd like to talk for a few minutes about some updates that are going on with the Sade Robinson case. And with this case, Milwaukee, the police acted really fast. They got their suspect, and just when we thought the last day to charge Maxwell Anderson was there, they ended up charging him. They found enough evidence in between blood found in the home, his location as it relates to some of the pieces of Sade that have been recovered. So he's in there in jail. He does have an attorney that his parents hired for him, and his bond is $5 million. And his attorney wanted to argue for, I think, $500,000. So anyway, the judge said no. So moving on from that, here are some interesting things going on with that case that I wasn't aware of, so I thought I would share in case you weren't aware of it either. As I mentioned, a lot of the community and Sade's family they're very upset because the parents hired a lawyer. Now, I'm just here to report. Let me say that. And I try as much as I can to not show bias. And I'm working on that because I know sometimes I look at cases and I'm very biased. And I need to stop doing that, because when you are speaking about true crime, you need to stick to the facts as we know them. Now, everybody, if anybody out there has children, your child is arrested for something. What are you going to do? You're going to try to protect your child. Even if you know or think they're wrong, you're still going to try to protect your child. So I just don't understand why people are outraged at the family hiring an attorney for him simply because he was going to get one way or the other. Either the family hired one or he was going to get a public defender. But it's part of our criminal justice system and the makeup of the system that says that, you have to have counsel. If you can't afford to pay for your counsel, we will appoint one. So that's just how the law works. And I understand their grief. I understand their anger. I truly do. But, we have to be reasonable. I think that if he did commit this crime, he needs to spend the rest of his life in jail. But you are innocent until proven guilty, no matter how I or anybody else feels about it. So now I'm going to tell you about some things where I felt like the police dropped the ball. The police, as I said, they jumped right into action. They solved the case, they got their evidence, and they got their man. But there were things that they didn't do. Like, apparently his house, Maxwell Anderson's house, was not locked down. There was no yellow tape. There was no police car or just any of those things posted at or near the house. So neighbors began to notice that Maxwell Anderson's father was removing items from the house. They didn't like that. So what they did is, you see this picture up here. They called it a pink out. Now, I don't know if this was Sade Robinson's favorite color or what, but they called it a pink out. And neighbors and family, they all went over there and they just threw pink stuff in the yard. Balloons, blankets, just if it was pink, they threw it in the yard. So after this, and after the police got wind of this, they go over there and now there's someone posted outside the door. But let's be clear. It's not because they felt, okay, let's keep the chain of evidence. Let's keep anyone else from going in the house removing things. It wasn't on any of that. It was because the people in the community did not like the fact that this neighborhood was left, this house was left with no one looking at it, and family members are just allowed like a free-for-all and to carry things out. So, they were fed up with it and said, oh no, not on our watch. And they pinked his whole front yard. That's why the police are there now. Not because, like I said, this is a crime scene. They're there now on some, okay, the neighbors done lost their mind. Let's get up in here and let's start to watch the house. So how on earth can you let something that is a crime scene? I mean, I thought for sure that at least, listen, the way I see it on TV, they're always roping off with that yellow tape. I remember when my house burnt down, they roped that off with the yellow tape, and it was never mind. But anyway, I cannot fathom the fact that this house was just open to anybody, not just his family, but friends, nosy people. And we all know that there are a lot of internet sleuths out there, and who it wouldn't be beyond them to go by that house just to see what they could find. There might even be somebody out there who wants to collect memorabilia to sell it later. You just never know. So the neighbors, they weren't having it. So now the police are looking at the house. I also want to add that they found some more body parts yesterday. They found a torso and an arm. I believe they said in Lake Michigan, or it washed up the shore and someone out there taking a walk found it. So it's so awful. But her pieces are still turning up. I'm also going to attach at the end, or close to the end, a video. I'm only going to put a snippet in it. And I talked about it on my community wall where her mother appeared on Nancy Grace. That woman, I mean, just every time I see her, my heart just breaks and just aches for her. But she's talking, but she's not taking this lying down. She says she's going to fight for her child. And she showed that when she did her interview on Nancy Grace. So, continuous prayers go out to her in her fight for justice for Sade.
Sade is a beautiful, beautiful soul. I knew that my kids were very special and different. My parents raised me, they raised us. We are light workers. We put out positive energy, we exert, we help others. I'm a community advocate as a personal way of my life, the way I live. I've worked for others, I help others my whole life. I've raised my daughters that way. My daughters have excelled. I have 2 daughters. This has caused so much emotional effect to my family, my parents who love my baby so much. her grandparents, her uncles, her aunties, the community. Everyone has pulled up. This has affected many people in Milwaukee. I'm coming here today. This is the hardest thing I would ever have to do in my life, to speak Sade's voice. Sade was a beautiful soul. She was an amazing girl. Nancy, everything you spoke was exactly what my daughter exerted. I couldn't have asked for any better daughter. There was things my daughter did that many adults were not even able to accomplish in their lifetimes. And I'll be 43 in a week. My birthday's on April 27th. Sade's birthday's on May the 10th. I had her on Mother's Day. This son of a... I'm going to watch my language on this platform. This son of a took my daughter from me a month before she's graduating with her Associate of Arts degree. She works so hard. She's a full-time student. She has 2 full-time jobs. She has her own little bachelorette apartment. She doesn't stay in a college dorm campus. She has her own bachelorette apartment. She has her own car. She pays all of her own bills. This is traumatizing, Nancy. I never expected this to pull up on my front door. This isn't normal. This is a 2024 Jeffrey Dahmer. I need him held accountable. I need justice for Sade. There has been a lot of, and many black and brown girls that have been gone missing in Milwaukee for a moment. And all of them are going to be held accountable now because they mess with the wrong family. They mess with the wrong family because we're not going to sit quiet and we're not going to sit still. And we're going to call all of them out and we're going to speak for the whole community. Because I'm not about to sit down and I'm not about to sit still on this one. It's justice for Sade, Nancy. It's justice.
Miss Garbar, I feel like anything I or anybody on this panel could say right now, it pales compared to what you just said. And believe me, Miss Garbar, this story of Sade has not just touched people in Milwaukee. It has touched people around the world. And when you say you're not going to sit back, neither are we until there is justice for your girl and the other missing and murdered girls across Milwaukee.
I want to now go in to talk about another missing young girl from Milwaukee that some people are starting to take a second look at because of the situation with Sade Robinson. And her name is Janiah Walker. When she went missing, she was I think she had just turned 14. She would be 16 today. Now, here's the thing about Maxwell Anderson. I don't think that we should be quick to pin every missing black female on him. Because if we start doing that, a real justice might be missed. And I know in the beginning I said, he's probably done this before. My emotions got the best of me, and I was, he's done this before, he's probably got a record. Well, what I don't like to do, unless it's necessary, is look at somebody's record before the story. And because his record has not one time been mentioned, I just did not find the need to look into it just yet. Now, there are a lot of black and brown girls missing from Wisconsin. And I just think that if this is something, after I think about it and let the emotions go away and just really think about it, If this man had done this before, I don't think he would have been as careless. Like being seen driving her car away from his house, taking a bus right near where body parts were discovered, where her car was discovered, letting it go on record where they were going to be for their date. I think there's a little bit of amateur, it's like an amateur ring to this. So do I think he's probably tried it before or thought about it before? Sure. But I think that this is probably the first time he's actually gone through with it, which is why I don't think we should start putting all of the missing on him, I'm sorry. Now, this Janiah Walker, she had a little bit of a past when she was, I think, 11 years old. She had been touched by a relative and it damaged her. And she was in therapy for this. So one day she disappears. And people are now, and when I say people, I don't mean the police. I mean people on the internet. I've seen it done on all of the apps where they are now bringing up her case and trying to tie it to Maxwell Anderson. And I just don't think that that's the case. They're making the connection because she worked at the same pizza place that Sade Robinson worked at. But here's the thing. She hadn't actually started working there. She had been hired, but she hadn't started working there. So what happened was on the date of June 2022, Joniah she was at home and she was waiting for her father to pick her up because she was going to be starting a job at the pizza place, the same place where Sade Robinson was working, but she couldn't start until she got her work permit. So she hadn't even officially started. So while she was at home, she made a call to her mother about, I guess, an Amazon package. They didn't say, but they just said package. But we know what was really hopping in 2022, and it was Amazon. So she called her mother about this package. Her mother didn't know what she was talking about, and she hung up. Well, the last time that Joniah was seen was after that phone call with her mother. Janiah's father came home to pick her up to get that permit, and her mother, he didn't see her. So he called her mother at work, and no, she just told him about the conversation that they had had. So, and that was it. Her mother came home from work, and they notified the police. Well, this is where we run into problems. The police were able to obtain surveillance video. And if you look down at the very bottom, that's video of her leaving the house. Now, on her back is a rucksack, or as I like to call it, camping gear. She had this on. Now, her parents hadn't seen this before, so they are assuming that she got this. This is what the package was. And they feel like she was lured away by some type of online predator. Well, here's the thing. They notified the police, and the police came out, and they didn't even bother to come inside the apartment. I think they probably just took her name and said, she's a teenager. They run away. She'll be back, that sort of thing. Well, I can imagine her mother was in disbelief. I thought that that's why they had a missing persons unit in police departments. I thought it was to look for missing people, but the more and more cases you hear about, the more you see they're not really looking for anybody. It's always an excuse as to why they're not going to look, but they never really just go into action and look. So she finds out a little later that before her daughter left, she made a call to her therapist because now, remember, I told you she had been touched as a child and it was leaving her with some depression and, a few other little mental things. And so she was seeing a therapist. It concerned her parents that she would contact her therapist and then disappear. So they went back to the police again because they figured they can get her upgraded to a critical missing person since she was under a doctor's care, and she did try to contact her therapist. Well, of course, to no avail. So they thought they'd call the FBI, and the FBI kind of poked around into it, but they didn't do much either. It was pretty much the belief that Joniah just left. And it kind of does. When the FBI looked into it, there were some things that they found strange. Like, she got the camping gear. Her parents hadn't seen it before. She started erasing things, deleting things off of her computer. We don't know what they were, but she started getting rid of emails and, other things off of the computer right before she left. And the parents were just very concerned, but the FBI and the police, they just really are looking at her as a runaway. Well, I think about a year later, a year and a half, they get a letter. And this letter, it was an email actually, and the person identified themselves as Janiah Walker, and she disclosed information that only she would know. She said she was alive and well, and that was that. She didn't want to be found, so on and so forth. The parents went to the FBI again, and, still nothing, because they feel like she left on her own accord. Although I don't think it's right for anybody's child to just leave. When they're underage, they've not been given permission to leave. So that just doesn't seem right to say, oh, she's a runaway, and to not bother to look, because even if she is a runaway, she's an underage one, and she doesn't need to be out on the streets and become prey to who or whatever is out there. Now, this letter that the mother received, since no one would do anything, the police, they wouldn't even take down the IP address, the email, nothing. So she traced it a couple days later, and by the time she began to trace it, it had just totally disappeared. The email address no longer existed. Now, it is the belief of some that the letter, three things could have happened. Janiah could have actually written the letter and she's actually okay. She could be suffering from Stockholm syndrome and with someone who did lure her away from her home, or somebody in the family wrote this to shine light or bring more attention to the case. All of those scenarios are plausible. So I honestly, in her case, I don't think she just ran away. I think that maybe she was lured away, but I just don't think it's the same thing. And people are connecting her to Sade Robinson's case because the same pizza place, but we don't know. She hadn't even started. And I don't even know. I don't know if this is a chain. I don't know if it's the exact same store. And let's say that is hypothetically the case. Then that means somebody other than Maxwell Anderson should be looked at, because it seems to me like a manager or someone who already worked there is a viable suspect. I'm just saying. So I think that it's a good idea that we have social media, and that social media can be of assistance to you, especially when there is someone missing. There have been a lot of children who have been found because of social media, but at the same time, you just have people who take it a step further and run with it. Someone even said that Maxwell Anderson had a history of assaulting women. Well, all I heard this was on Facebook. The news hasn't said it. Certainly, if this was the case, a prosecutor would have brought it up. The closest they came up with was another girl who went home with him, and he asked her, did she want to see the sex dungeon? And she was like, no, I'm good. So we can't just say that he's been going around Milwaukee stealing and unaliving all of the missing Black and brown people. It does an injustice to their cases individually to do that, in my opinion. The last case that I would like to talk about out of Milwaukee is a couple by the name of Cadonia Collins and James Crump. Now, Cadonia and James were driving around and they went to a gas station / convenience store where in the parking lot they struck up a conversation with two young girls. Now, I don't know where James was, but I don't know if he stayed in the car, but Cadonia went in the store with the young ladies and, they were talking and laughing and, everything was normal. When they get outside, they are approached by James and ordered to get in the car. So they get in this car and the couple drives them, and I'm going to tell you right now, geography is not my strong suit, but the couple, they drive the two young girls from Milwaukee to Chicago. Have no idea how many miles that is. I really don't know. And these two young girls, they were like around 14. Because they're victims, we don't have a lot of information on them. But what they did was they took these young ladies by gunpoint to Chicago and forced them to work in prostitution. So when they were done with them for the day, they take them back to Milwaukee, and I guess they dropped them off where they found them. So the girls went home and they told. Now, here's how smart Cadonia and James are. They told the young ladies that they would be back in a few days to pick them up so that they could do this again. I mean, really. And they were ever so stupid enough, and thank goodness they were this dumb, to give their actual phone number to these young girls. So they go home, they tell a family member, they contact police get involved. They're able to locate them because they had their phone number, and the two got arrested. And this happened in Milwaukee. Now, here we have another case of two Black girls who have been taken from one state to another to be trafficked and then brought back to act like, I guess, nothing happened. I don't know what the couple expected, and to be told, tell them, we're going to do this again in a few days. So there are a lot of issues going on in Milwaukee as it pertains to missing Black and brown people. And on top of all of that is most of the time it's not taken serious. There are so many cases there that just based on that I know of off the top of my head where women have either been trafficked and found, some not found, and another one where there was a child being used for CP. So unfortunately, this is a very big problem and in that state. And I do hope that Sade Robinson, I hope that her case sheds light on this. I really do, because now the world is paying attention. So we've gone over 3 cases from the same state, which we can only really for sure tie Maxwell Anderson to one. These other 2 girls were trafficked by a couple, and this other young lady, we're not sure if she left on her own, if she was coaxed. We just don't know. We don't know anything. But I just wanted to just show, before I came on here and gave my opinion about something, I just kind of wanted to give an example of what I am talking about that's going on in the state of Wisconsin.
Trafficked on tape. 2 people are charged after investigators say they lured 2 girls from a Milwaukee gas station and then forced them into prostitution.
Prosecutors say the man and woman then drove the girls to Chicago to perform sex acts. Ashley Sears is in the studio with more on the surveillance video from the gas station. Ashley?
And Ted, that video shows a car pulling up to a group of girls. Investigators say a woman coerced 2 of them into the vehicle. On any given day, there's a lot of traffic along Hampton and 60th. Last week, it was a different type of traffic that led police here. Investigators say 32-year-old Katiana Collins and 49-year-old James Crump pulled into the gas station parking lot, not looking to fill up. Surveillance shows them in a red Mazda, stopping briefly to chat with a group of girls. When the group goes inside, investigators say Collins was right behind them. She's seen chatting with them for several minutes, even buying them food before they all walk out together. After a brief discussion, 2 girls get in a Mazda and drive away. Investigators say they didn't know Crump was also in the car and told the 15-year-olds they were going to Chicago. The girls told police Crump pulled out a black handgun, pointed it at their heads, telling them they'd be forced to perform sex acts. When they got to the Windy City, the teens say Crump and Collins prostituted them, taking all of their money. Investigators say Crump and Collins drove the girls back to Milwaukee, dropped them off at home, and told them they'd be back in a few days. The girls went to family and told them what happened and said they had Collins' cell phone number. Investigators say one of those adults pretended to be one of the girls and said she'd meet up with Collins in a text message. Instead, she recorded Crump and Collins and got their plates. They went to police, who later arrested them. Steph?
I am Legacy Moon. I thank you for watching this video. If you are not subscribed to me, you might want to reach up there and hit that subscribe button and then that notification bell so that you know when I post my next video. And even if you don't subscribe, you're still welcome to come back and visit me. Now, the last thing I'm going to ask you to do is please, please, please hit that thumbs up and keep me high, high, high in the rhythm of alg.